What happens when a regular guy in a regular real job decides to bet on himself? Well, then he faces rejection after rejection. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's in his dream job and everything is wonderful. So that's what today's guest is all about. He's going to share his lessons learned with us today, all about that transition. So today you're tuning into Success Through Connections, and I'm Zelda, your host. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button. Do that now while you're thinking about it. Subscribe. Yeah. Think about it. So let me tell you about today's guest. I can't wait. I've met him about a week or so ago, and I can't wait to tell you about Fred Moore. So he knows how to grab attention, and he knows, even more important, how to keep the attention. So he is a world-traveled keynote speaker, and he is a comedy magician who's performed over 6,000 shows across 30 countries. That's a lot. He helps audiences and organizations rethink what's possible, and they laugh along the way. And wow, what's better than laughing while you're learning? That is so freaking awesome. So today, get ready for a dose of motivation, a few surprises, and maybe we'll even get some magic. So please welcome, at least I'm welcoming, Fred Moore. Thanks, Fred, for being here.
Oh, not a problem. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here. Sit down. Everyone, please. No, please.
Sit.
We need the applause button here, don't we?
Well, yeah, I used to have one of those machines that did all that and did the laughs and all that. And then when I'm a one-woman show here, it got complicated. I can only multitask so much.
Oh, exactly. I've got foot switches and, stream decks and all sorts of things going on.
I get it. So I want to just dive in. You were in it's like, it's comfortable. You're in and I know so many people in this position or have been in it. You're in the comfortable corporate position and hey, you got the paychecks coming in and then you decide maybe not so much. So tell us a little bit about how you went from full-time corporate America to now you're a full-time entertainer and speaker. What was maybe the push that made you think there's got to be something better out there? And then how did you handle all the rejection at first?
Oh, exactly. Well, show business has always been an interest of mine, and I had to go out and get the, quote, real job like a lot of people do. And in show business, it's all about rejection because they're rejecting you. When you go for a job interview, it's like, well, you're not qualified. When you're going for, if it's acting, if it's entertainment or whatever, they're like, yeah, we don't like you. That's the issue here. We don't like all this. Go away. We need somebody else that looks better than you or does better, whatever it is. So when you're in, again, I'm going to use the air quotes, the regular job, you don't get as much rejection. So sometimes it's hard to deal with, especially if you're dealing with clients, right? You want to make the sale. Every sales call I'm on, when I'm trying to sell myself and my services, keynote speech, whatever, obviously I want the sale.
Right.
But I'm also prepared to not get the sale because I'm used to rejection. And I've learned to try to not take it personal. All right. Try to not take it too personal because most of the time it's not. It's just you're not the right fit.
Right.
And if I'm not the right fit for a client, then number one, I want to move on and look for somebody that is a right fit. And I want the client to move on. And sometimes I'll help the client find somebody. Well, who are you looking for? Are you looking for somebody that's good with, about connecting? Talk to Zelda. That's who you need to talk to, And so instead of taking the rejection for what most people think it is, a failure, look at it as an opportunity. All right, you don't want me. Who do you want? Now, in the case of like an acting job or a performance or whatever, they don't like the act or they're not exactly whatever. I'm not what they're looking for. And that's fine. But I learned something years ago. I toured with a big show in Europe as a performer. And I can't say who it was, but anyway, but it was a big show there. And at some point during the tour, I've been working for like 2 years. They decided that they didn't want me anymore, which was a big surprise. I've been working 2 years, nothing had gone wrong or whatever. And I kind of had an idea. I probably shouldn't have been there anyway. I was in
like flags along the way.
Well, it wasn't so much that, but the rest of the cast were in their mid-20s. I was in my 40s at the time. And so it's like, why am I here? I'm like, okay, you know. And there was a lot more details to it, and I found out why and what happened and all that. But anyway, it came right down to the fact that, okay, boom, we don't want you. You're out of here. And that's when I learned a very valuable lesson is in that situation, I was replaceable. They just got another body and slot it right into there. Okay. And you see this in a lot of production shows, Broadway shows, things like that. They get an actor to play this part. So at that point, I realized, all right, so I need to make it so when they hire me, they're getting me. Nobody else can be me but me. So I had to be irreplaceable. I had to figure out what is going to make me unique enough. And I knew in that situation, they needed a person to play this role on stage. That's what actors do. That's what that situation called.
And that's what all situations, whether you're an actor or you're a salesman or whatever it is that you're doing, you've got to make yourself stand out so that to replace you would be difficult because people work for corporate America and they can get replaced anytime. And in some states for no reason at all. So, and there's nothing you can do. So you have to make yourself really stand out and not be replaceable so easy.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%, 100%. And the way that you do that is obviously be good at your job, right? Mm-hmm. You could just do your job so well that they can't replace you. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying do more than anyone else. So somebody gets fired, but a lot of that just has to do with interpersonal relationships with people.
Yeah. That's so true.
A tip I give, I still perform. I still do comedy magic along with the keynote speaking, and I do cruise ships from time to time. Hmm. And any new performer that is asking me advice on what do you do, I said, well, what you do when you get on the ship, treat the crew very well. Respect the crew. Learn their names, right? Figure out their names. Use their names. Don't be a diva. Don't be demanding. You're not the star. You're the entertainer that's there. They're going to have their job next week, whether they screw up your show or not. So it's be nice to people. And I have heard from casting directors. I've heard from managers at companies that like, you know what? I like this person. They're really qualified for this job, but I don't want to hire them. I'm going to hire this person that is less qualified because they're easier to deal with. There's not so much drama going on.
Yeah.
Right? We all know people. Now, here's the thing, right? There's always that one person in the office that's like very negative and a lot of drama. And if you don't know who
toxic to the environment.
Exactly.
I had to let people go when I was in another career and I was in charge of the hiring and the firing. And it was very difficult. But boy, when there's somebody who's toxic, you have to get rid of them.
Yep. And here's the thing. If you don't know who it is where you work, it might be you. I'm just saying. You got to be,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's difficult. It must have been difficult for you, right?
It was. Well, actually, that particular person kind of made it easy. They sent me an email the day before I let them go to say that they were going to resign. They were resigning. So when she showed up at work the next day, I said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, "Well, I didn't mean to send that." I said, "Well, we already accepted your resignation. You can go home."
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, you don't always get that lucky, but but she was toxic to everybody. Everybody was like cheering when we let her go. They were thankful, but we've also let people stay because just what you were saying, they were very good at their job. Other things they weren't so great at, but boy, if we had a problem with a client, we could send this particular person out and he could save the day. So they had some good value. So you make yourself valuable, like you were saying. Yeah. So was it difficult to leave that real job, that corporate job, to decide I'm going off on my own? Was that a tough decision?
It was. I had a goal set for myself that before I turned 30, I wanted to be doing this for a living, performing, entertaining, and all that. And
so how did you prepare yourself for that?
Well, I got lucky in that when I was 19 years old, I started working at a theme park up in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And I did 5 shows a day, 6 days a week for 4 months. I did 500 shows in a 4-month period. So like anything, if you want to be good at something, you have to do it a lot.
Yes.
So over that summer, I got so much better at my craft by just sheer repetition of it. The other cool thing too was doing it that many times. I found out what to do if something went wrong.
Yes.
I found out how to prevent these things from happening in the first place, because situations are different, whether, whatever, the people, how to deal with different personality types, different, because I'd use people on stage with me and all. So I got lucky in that aspect that I had some mileage on the act, as it were, and I was pretty good. So I was getting hired. If you're not good at your job, you're not going to get hired.
Right.
So that's the first step. Is
but
get
you
good.
Learned along the way, and you don't know you made a mistake, and that was your stepping stone to learn.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So basically what it came down to, 30 was coming up, and I'm like, all right, how can I make a living? I'd been making some money at it, but nothing, and I'd had my regular job. And I went to a friend of mine who was a full-time performer, and I asked him, I said, what do you think I should do? I really want to do this. And he goes, well, at some point, right, you want to ride your white horse and get to your palace, right? But at some point, you got to get off the horse and walk. You just got to take the plunge. You got to take the leap of faith, as it were.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I put in my 2 weeks notice, and it was kind of bittersweet too, because it was like, I've been working here for, 5 years. And I know these people and I had friends and all that. And then my last day, it was just kind of like, okay, bye.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how that happens?
I was like, but
next.
How can you survive without me?
Yeah.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay.
They could replace you.
Exactly. I was replaceable. See, it took me a while to learn that lesson, didn't it?
We're all replaceable. That is.
But yeah, I just decided, all right, this is what I'm going to do. And for me personally, I knew, like, if I had that safety net of, like, a part-time job, I wouldn't have to work as hard to get the work, get the gigs, get the speaking engagements, the entertainment, whatever, all of that. I wouldn't have to work as hard because, I still get a paycheck coming in. If my only source of income was, ta-da, I needed to work harder. And I did.
Exactly. It's like I had a guest once. I said, well, how do you get started? If you're a salesman and you're out of a job and you need to make some money, what do you do while you're looking for a job? He goes, find something and go sell it. Exactly. I call it grocery money. I don't care if it's just grocery money or an electric bill. You go out there and you start hustling, start working. So I know that when you speak, you use humor to help people make changes in their lives. How do you do that? How do you use humor to help them?
By nature, my personality is I don't take myself or most things too seriously, which is I'm fun at a funeral. No. So yeah, that's just my personality. I don't take things too serious. So whenever I'm talking, I always try to make somebody laugh. I always try to get a smile as somebody because it makes their day better. Even when I go to the store, I
can imagine.
One of my favorite things is at the stores, you go to 7-Eleven and get a drink and they go, have a nice day. I go, hey, don't tell me what to do. And smile. And they'll be like, what? I never heard that before.
Yeah, that's a good one. I have to do that.
You have to say it right, though. Yeah. You don't go, don't tell me what to do, because then
you have to make sure it's humorous so they don't
smile, like.
That's funny. So when you're giving tips for making life easier, what's like maybe one little shift someone could do to make a big impact?
That's the thing. A lot of people think that they need to make a huge change to make a huge impact in their life. And more often than not, it's the little changes. And the little changes add up to the big changes.
Yeah.
We live in a society of instant gratification, right?
Sure do. I feel bad for those little kids who are, I don't know what generation they're called, but the little ones, like the toddlers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a magical world they live in. They click a button and they can get anything they want, see anything they want, which is dangerous. But yeah, they don't have to wait for anything, So people are wanting instant results. And when it doesn't happen, they get demotivated. They get depressed. They give up.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And a lot of times what they don't realize is the things that they're doing are not getting them the results that they want. Let me explain. I know it's in my head, it makes sense. People take an action to get a result. You have a goal. I'm going to try to do this. And then if it doesn't work, they quit, or maybe they try it again. And the magic formula, of course, is try again. I'll give you an example. I said magic. So I got a little white ball here, right? My action that I want to take is I want to grab this ball in the other hand, right? It's easy to do that. Now, if my goal is not to have that ball in the other hand, but I'm still taking the same actions, then I'm going to get the same results, right? But if my goal is to magically make that ball disappear, that is exactly what I'll do. I took a different action. Now, oftentimes the actions you take look like you're taking the same action, but I made a subtle change in the actions. I got a little sleight of hand there. Yeah. All right. Just go like this, Zelda. Just close them up. Close them up. Yeah. What? Where did it go? Yeah. Sleight of Fred. That's what I like to do. But yeah, just by making a small change in the actions you're taking, you're going to get a different result.
That's true.
Sometimes, again, like I said, the small actions build up like interest at the bank. They accrue over time, if that makes sense.
We had a discussion the other week, and we talked about how a lot of people, they work from home these days. Ever since COVID, people work from home. So you have some incredible ideas for some of the best home office hacks to stay focused and to stay productive, especially when there's so many distractions. Can you give our audience a couple of tips on how to stay focused when you've got all these distractions? You got the kids and the dogs running around. You got all this stuff going on. What are some great home office hacks?
Absolutely. A couple of things you can do. First thing that I like to do is usually Sunday evenings, I'll go in my office and I have a dry erase board, and I will just sit there and list what I need to get done this week. What's the stuff I need to do? Now, if you're working in an office, oftentimes it's the same things over you need to do again. And that's fine. But just figure out what needs to get done that week. For me, since I work from home and an entrepreneur, I make my own time, then it's like, all right, where are the appointments? I got a doctor's appointment. Got to pick up the kids from school. There's whatever. So I plan out the week. So Sunday, I start that so I know throughout the week, because oftentimes when you're working for yourself, I always say, I'm self-employed. My boss is an idiot. Negative self-talk. Shame on you, Fred. But when you don't have a scheduled day like you do when you're in a corporate world, it's really easy to get distracted. And it's really easy to go, oh, what am I going to do today? Oh, let me try this. Let me try that. But as long as I have it kind of planned out beforehand, then I know, all right, well, this needs to get done. This needs to get done. And this needs to get done. Right. And I will set those tasks and designate, like, Monday during this time, this is what I'm doing. And I'll set a timer on my phone or my computer or whatever for 50 minutes, 50 minutes, let's say. And I will work on one thing, just one thing. Oftentimes we're multitasking, right? We're doing 3 or 4 different things at the same time. And science has told us in the last few years, you can't really multitask. You can't do 2 different things at the same time. You're switching from task to task, and you're not doing any of them very well.
That's true.
So I set that timer for 50 minutes. I blocked out this hour on my schedule. I'm going to do this one thing. It might be prospecting for clients. Somebody has a problem that I can solve. I'm going to find them. So I spend 50 minutes looking for these people, put them into my database, right? Here's a conference. They're having a convention. They need a great keynote speaker who's fun. And,
so it's,
all right.
What you're saying then is plan your day, plan your week. It's a schedule. I'm grabbing here. I have mine all scheduled out for the week. And it's old school. It's like, I don't care. It's old school. I have it also backed up on my phone. So if I forget something, but I agree with you. Planning is super important to keep you focused on what that topic is. So do you have any suggestions for if you're in a household with children running around or things like that. What do you do when the kids and the dogs are bugging you and annoying you? I give my dog a treat and she leaves me alone, but
There you go. Hard to do with the kid, though.
yeah, you can't just give your kid a
A bowl
treat.
of Cheerios. Turn on Netflix. Go for it.
Yeah.
A simple thing that I did when we first had children and there were little ones running around the house is I would close my office door.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the rule of my house. Is my wife was a stay-at-home mom at that time. And so if the office door was closed, that meant I was focusing. That's a new word.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I would have the door closed. And when the door was closed, that meant do not disturb. That means I was recording a video or I was on a Zoom call or something.
Amen.
And my daughter knew that growing up. She was about, 3.5 years old. And I'm working in the office one day and I hear this light knock, knock, daddy, knock, knock, daddy. Right. She's very quiet, didn't disturb. I wasn't on a call, so it wasn't that big of a deal, but I kind of ignored it because I thought, all right, well, my wife's there. She wasn't screaming, nothing's on fire. So I didn't respond. And then another knock, daddy, knock, daddy. And then I hear my wife come up and go, honey, what are you doing? And my daughter, 3.5 years old, mind you, goes, well, I'm doing what daddy said. Try again, right? So I opened the door. I give her a big hug. I go, oh,
Now
go away. Now go away. Exactly. So yeah,
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. But you have, it's like, do not disturb unless the house is on fire.
Exactly. And you can do that. I mean, even if you're not at home, you can do that elsewhere in your office. You can tell them like, look, shut my door. Don't bother me. I need to focus on this one task. Getting back to that hour that I was talking, I'm focused on one task. I don't want distractions. I don't want anything. Now, the other great thing you can do is if you have a home office and there are going to be distractions, you can move. You can go outside. You can take your laptop. You can go to the coffee shop and sit down and use their Wi-Fi for free and get a lot of work done that way, especially if you have, mocha chocolate, extra caffeine shot. And so sometimes it's just a matter of just changing locations. That also helps too when you're feeling kind of stagnant and you're like, you're kind of in a funk.
Get up and move. I like to move, and it's only my dog that bothers me. I'm an empty nester, but I'll just go sit on my back patio.
There you go.
And it's a beautiful view, and I actually get a lot of work done. And then when I'm ready, I'll go back in. So, yeah. So you have a thing that's called the game plan.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what the game plan is and how did you come up with this idea?
It started with New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve, same thing happens, right? The ball drops, we all, yay, we toast, we drink champagne, and we make New Year's resolutions.
Okay.
And 98% of the time, they don't get done. Right. The next year rolls around. It's New Year's Eve again. You're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Well, this year will be different. Gym membership spike in January. Yeah. And attendance spikes in January. And then the beginning of February, it's back to normal. And you can find a machine.
Yeah.
Because people, it's a nice idea to have a goal or an aspiration, but most people don't follow through. So I started thinking about it and going, all right, well, what do I need to make this goal happen? And there's all sorts of acronyms. There's a SMART goal. It's specific and measurable. And I just kind of came up with my idea of the game plan, the acronym, which stands for goal, action, motivation, and evaluation. The goal, obviously, is what you want to do, but it's more dialed in. You need to be specific with the goal. It needs to have a deadline. Action. What actions are you going to take to make your goal happen? Oftentimes we're like, all right, well, I know I want to do this thing. And then I don't know what to do. How do I make that happen? Nowadays with technology, you can Google just about anything and find a YouTube video on how to do it. I changed the brakes on my car 6 months ago, thanks to YouTube. Never done it before, but now I can do it.
That's the truth.
So
anytime I have a question, instead of asking my son, because his answer was always the same, go find it on YouTube, Mom.
Yep, exactly. I always say it's the perfect time to be a father because my kids, when they were little, any question, Google it.
Yes.
There you go. You find your answer.
Go to ChatGPT, it'll tell you.
Exactly. Now, yeah. But the other two aspects of the game plan are motivation and evaluation. Motivation just means, finding something that's going to drive you towards your goal. What's your reward? What's your payoff? Why you want this to happen? You find your why, right? Evaluation is the last step, which is, I think, one of the most important steps. And I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this, because on Fridays is when I'll do my evaluation for the week.
Right.
30 minutes on my calendar. And I think, all right, what did I do this week?
Mm-hmm.
And am I getting results from those actions or not? If I'm getting great results, then next week I need to do more of that. If I'm getting poor results, I need to change what I'm doing and get a different result. Hey, it's magic. Common sense. Yeah, so that's the gist of the game plan. There's more details and stuff about that.
I think you're right about the evaluation. I know that on Fridays, I get my reports for my different websites, for my podcasts, and if I've got ads out, and I'll look at what those are, and I look at all the analytics on Fridays, and then figure out what I have to do to change things and what have you for the next week. Now, Fred, you were telling me about you have a plan for, it's called 50 Actions. I loved it. I thought that was fascinating. Tell us about what that's all about, because I loved that. I loved the 50. I loved it. Tell us about that.
That came from another idea I had. I was turning 50 years old. This is just last year. That's a lie. All right. It was a while ago.
It's okay. It's okay.
I was going to turn 50. So I thought, all right, it's 50. I got to do something special, right? So I made a list. 50 things I want to do in the year that I turned 50. And they were just, little things, big things, small things. I wanted to go scuba diving. I wanted to go, skydiving. I wanted to take the kids out for the weekend at a nice little park. And like I said, some were little things, some were big things, some were small things. I went on a ride along in a police car, not in the back, in the front with the officer. Just want to be clear about that. Okay. Yeah. But just fun things and experiences that I knew I wanted to do at some point in my life. But it's like, I always say, people have a bucket list, right? Problem with a bucket list is you don't know when you're going to kick the bucket. So why not do that stuff now rather than, when I'm older, I'll do that stuff. So it started there. And because I found it was kind of difficult to get 50 things, right?
But you incorporated it into work.
I did. Yeah, it started there. So then I took that idea and I thought, all right, well, let me see when I go to that game plan and I need actions, right? How am I going to make this goal of mine happen? So I decided I'm going to start making a list of 50 ways I can lose weight, 50 ways I can get more clients, 50 ways I can become famous, whatever it is. And I start listing and I come up with ideas, 10, 20 or whatever. And usually 10, 15, 20 is usually when you're kind of like, oh, it's getting kind of difficult
to
come up with more ideas. But that's why I set it at 50. Because when you set it at 50 and you need to come up with those ideas, a couple things are going to happen. You're going to get specific with the actions that you want to take. Because rather than, all right, I want to lose weight, my action is I'm going to go to the gym. All right, well, there's lots of things you can do at the gym. Why not? There's probably 10 things you could list under going to the gym and work on the weights. Go to the gym, take a Zumba class, go to the gym and get a trainer. So I can get more specific with the actions I'm going to take so that later on, when I take those actions, they're going to get me better results because they're very specific to that situation. Plus, I'm going to start thinking of things I wouldn't have thought of if I didn't have to go.
Yeah. When you're pushing yourself
the box, think of crazy ideas.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing to do too with teams, right? But don't do it as a group activity. Do individual. Everyone has to come up with 50. And you're going to get a lot of overlap, but there's going to be somebody that came up with an idea that nobody else thought of. And that might be the one that's like the gold, you know? So I'll do that with my family. We'll sit down and say, all right, let's come up with 50 things we can do on the weekends, just fun activities we can do. And we'll just start listing things.
That's a great idea. I
Yeah,
love
then
that.
it's no longer like, well, I don't know what to do. It's like, pick one, you know?
Yeah. I love that. It's like, what do you want to do? Now let's figure out 50 actions we can do to do it. And I can see how you could hit a roadblock at maybe 15 to 20. And then you have to really get granular and figure it out. So that's great advice to create a list of 50 to get one specific thing done. I love that.
Right.
So
and it's great too, because oftentimes you're trying to do something and you're not making any headway, right? You're not, it's kind of stagnant and whatever. And you're like, oh man. And that's when you want to give up. Oh, it's not working anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that one thing is not working.
Yes.
You got 49 more other things you can try to make that happen.
So I know that you're known for remembering names, and you talked about names earlier.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
So that's okay, because I didn't forget about it.
I'm kidding.
Because I practiced your method. Okay. So I'm going to let you tell them about it. Then I'll tell you my experience with it. So you are known for teaching people how to remember names, because you go to these networking events and you're meeting all these different people. And it's like, I don't remember their name. And it's so hard. But you came up with an idea, but it's not anything magical really, but it is kind of. It's like, come on, why didn't I think of that? For remembering names. So tell us how that works, and can it work in the digital space?
I think it can. Definitely.
So tell us about this.
Digital space is probably easier, right? You can Google somebody. But yeah, one-on-one. And this happens all the time. It used to happen to me all the still does from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
You're at a networking event, you come and you said, hi, I'm Bumblebee. And you are? Oh, I'm Fred. Nice to meet you. And you have no idea what their name is.
10 minutes later, you don't remember their name.
Yeah. And the reason is because you're trying to decide, is this person important to me or not? And you're thinking about what you're going to say to this person. And it's all about you. It's not about them. So a couple of things you can do. First, seems kind of silly, rudimentary, but you need to listen. You need to actively listen to their name. They go, oh, my name's Steve. Nice to meet you. So, Steve, actively listen to their name. It's really hard to actively listen to somebody's name when you don't practice it. Now, here's something that is, you can try this. It's really kind of cool. Turn on the TV, watch a show you've never seen before, and try to remember everybody's name in the show. Mm-hmm. Right? Watch the show for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And when you hear the person's name, then you're going to use some of these techniques I'm going to tell you in just a second. But it's a great way to practice it without, you got nothing to lose.
That's
right?
a brilliant idea. Yeah.
So they say their name. Hi, my name is Steve. You want to use their name in the first 15, 20 seconds, at least 3 times. And not in a creepy, Steve, not that, security, get over here. You want to use it casually. You go, my name is Fred, and you are, oh, my name is Steve. Steve, oh, great. Steve, it's nice to meet you. I knew Steve about 10 years ago. He owes me money. You're not that guy, are you? No, okay. I just used his name 3 times. It's going to lock it into your brain, at least better than if you never mentioned his name at all, because you have to think about it. You're verbalizing it. You hear his name coming out of your mouth. And whatever you hear from you must be important because it's from you, right? So you pay more attention to that. So their name, say it 3 times, and then keep using their name.
Yes.
Just every once in a while, pepper it in. Go, really, Steve, you are amazing. I can't believe that you did that. Have you met Steve? This guy is great.
Yeah.
When you do
that, that's great. Because you do remember that. I went to a networking event recently and I said, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try your method. And first of all, I repeated their name back to lock it in. And then I used it a couple more times throughout the conversation, not right away, so that I knew I was remembering the name. And then I would walk away and then not coming back to them necessarily, but I would look at them from across the room and I go, that's Steve, or whoever it was, so that I could remember who that person was. So I could, if I was with someone else, I'd say, oh, let me introduce you to Steve. And it works, but you do have to concentrate. I had to concentrate hard on it, but I had said my goal was to memorize 3 people's names, so that even though the room was of about 120 people and I was meeting a lot, my goal was 3 people I would lock into and remember their names, because otherwise it would have been overwhelming for me. So 3 people I was able to remember the name. And as I was leaving, Larry was on the elevator with me, and I had a conversation with Larry.
Yep. And I will bet you Larry will remember you. He may not remember his name until he watches this, of course, but he will remember you because you said to him the most important word in his existence.
Yes, his name.
And you made him feel important, because when you remember somebody's name, that means they're important to you.
So let me ask you, have you ever had a funny or an embarrassing maybe time where you mixed up someone's name?
I did.
What'd you learn from it?
I called somebody by the wrong name, or this used to happen. I'd be in a networking event. When my wife and I first got married, I was introducing her to my network of friends, and there was a lot of magicians, a lot of performers. And there were some people that like, oh yeah, I've seen that guy before, but I can't remember his name.
Right.
Because we're not buddies. We don't call each other or anything like that. But they knew who I was. They knew my name.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was embarrassing for me to go, I'm sorry, what was your name? Because I'm telling them, I'm sorry, you're not really important to me. So to save that embarrassment on my end and to save them from feeling bad about themselves, because Fred Moore didn't remember who they were. Me and my wife had this system set up. If I didn't introduce my wife to them, that meant I couldn't remember their name. So then at some point, my wife would go, excuse me, by the way, my name is Adina, and you are? And they're like, oh, I'm Steve. And I'm like, yeah, Steve. I told you about Steve. Me and Steve, we go way back. So that way, again, I'm saving face, saving a little embarrassment on their end. They feel better. My wife helps me out tremendously by doing that.
Yeah.
And you can do the same thing at networking events, especially if you're there with a partner or a team member or something.
You have that in advance. Hey, here's the thing. Yeah. You're my wingman and I'm your wingman. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So this is so good because, I mean, like I said, I practiced it at the last networking event and it worked beautifully for me. And I loved it. It's like that. And I love all this stuff. So what is your best advice, Fred, not Steve, for someone who's maybe trying to create the life that they love and they want to have more fun and less grind?
Don't take life too serious. Nobody gets out alive.
Yeah.
You think about it. I think the best thing that we can do, and I do this, and I do it throughout the day as well, and I'll explain that, is start your day off the right way. Most people start the day, they get up, very first thing they do in the morning, this is what I do. All right, the second thing I do after I get up is most people grab their phone, right? Maybe you go to the bathroom and you grab your phone and you look at your email and you look at all the social media and you look at everyone else's agenda and all the bad stuff that's happened. That's not how you want to start your day. So I will start the day off by thinking about gratitude. What am I grateful for today? Right? What am I grateful for that I get to do today? Who are the people in my life that I'm grateful for? This morning I woke up, I'm grateful I get to do this podcast today. I'm grateful I get to share my message. I'm grateful I get to meet somebody and, meet some other people. Some people out there watching this will reach out to me and we'll make this connection happen, right? Because this is all about connections.
Connections.
Yeah. So by thinking of gratitude, what I'm grateful for, when you're thinking about being grateful, you can't be mad. You can't be sad. You can't be angry because you're being grateful.
I love that.
Throughout the day, real quick, throughout the day on my watch, I have 3 alarms set. They go off 3 different times during the day. And that's just a quick reminder for me to stop whatever I'm doing right there and think about what I'm grateful for in that moment.
Love that.
Because a lot of times you're having a bad day. Things aren't going so well. My alarm goes off and I go, all right, I'm alive. I'm above ground. I'm breathing.
Yeah.
Driving. I got a car. I got gas I got half a tank of gas. I'm grateful to have that.
That's so beautiful. I love this idea of setting the clock to stop for a minute to say, I'm grateful for people show up for me.
Exactly.
Anything.
Yeah, I call it gratitude alarms.
I love that, Fred. That is so awesome. I'm going to have to start doing that too. Besides got names, I got actions. Now I got my gratitude alarm.
That's a writer down. That's
a writer down. That's exactly right. Well, you know what? We're just about at the end of our show, and I don't want to forget to ask you to tell our listeners, how can they connect with you? Maybe they want to learn more about you. They want to bring you in as a speaker. How can they find you?
Easiest way is go to my website, which is morefred.com. MOOREFRED.com. More Fred. See, more Fred. See what I did?
I love it. I love it. So I have a signature question that I love to ask every single guest at the end of my show. So here it is. Can you share a story of a situation, an opportunity that presented itself to you because of a connection that you had, or an opportunity you presented to someone else because of a connection that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. I can trace to my 23 years of marriage, being happily married, back to one person. And that person didn't introduce me to my wife. That person never even met my wife. That person has passed on for many years. But he was another entertainer, another magician that I'd met. And he was kind of working at a level that I wanted to be at. He was a full-time performer. And so I think the best advice you can give people is that find something you want to do and then find people that are already doing it.
Yeah.
Not people at your level, but people that are at the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And get advice from them, befriend them if you can, help them. The best way to get what you want is to help somebody else get what they want. It's a Zig Ziglar quote. But so I met him, we became friends, hanging out, and he turned me on to you know what, you should contact this guy. And he does this thing in Japan every year, and they always need performers, and you might be good. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I contacted him and got hired for it. And this is how naive I was at the time. I was thinking about this going, I don't know if I can afford to do this because a flight to Japan, that's a lot. And I got to pay for a hotel and all. And then my friend's like, no, dude, they'll take care of that. They fly you there and put you up and then pay you to do what you love to do. I'm like, okay, I can do that. So I went to Japan the first time and probably went there another dozen times over the years. And while I was in Japan, I was a single young guy, and one of the other performers was there, a dancer from Romania. And I met her and struck up a friendship and a little romance. And I thought it was just going to be a little, 2-month fling that we were going to have. We've been married to be 23 years in December.
Yeah.
Wonderful daughters, 9-year-old and 13-year-old. And it's great that I can, if I hadn't been friends with this guy, Avatar, I would have heard about this, and the stars would have aligned the way they did for me to meet my wife.
Beautiful story. Beautiful. I love it. That one's different. I love it. I love it. I love romance. I love it. That's great. Thank you so much, Fred, for being part of our podcast today. I just love all this information. It's been great getting to know you. We'll stay in touch. So this is our show for this week. And got some pretty good tips for us, because as I told you, I've already been using them, and I'm going to start setting my alarm clock too now. So thanks for joining us today. And for those listeners who are with us today, I want you to remember, hit the subscribe. Show them, Fred. Hit the subscribe button. You got to subscribe to the podcast so we can keep bringing you more awesome guests like Fred today. And remember that success does not happen in isolation. It happens because of the connections that you have. Connections are currency, and those connections are the new power moves. So until next week, I'm Zelda with Success Through Connections. Keep on connecting.